Alrighty, let me make sure you can hear me. You can hear me just fine. Sweet. I'm going to turn down the volume on the music a little bit. There we go. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Mini Paint and Chill, where I mini paint and you chill. Today, we're going to be working on some projects that I have for my own D&D game. So I'm excited to work on those. But before I get started, a few quick things to get out of the way. One, if you aren't already, please follow the channel. If you have the financial ability to, please consider subscribing or purchasing something off my website, wheelersminis.com. If you'd like to support me in free ways, you can do so in a number of ways, which mostly include following me on my socials at wheelersminis on pretty much everything. If you're watching this on YouTube, hi YouTube. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. I really appreciate it. Spending this 2-hour time frame to learn some stuff about minis. Yeah, we're just gonna kind of work on some stuff that I had needed to work on. Mostly this guy and that guy. And okay. But this is what we're going to work on right now. Sliz and Gerald from the last time you saw me, which was last week, I believe, are done pending my wife's approval, who is my end-all last say whether I'm done or not, because I trust their artistic eye. But I just need to get started on this and actually just work on it. I'm very bad at kind of not working on projects. Something I want to do it right now, and I just need to be better at that. So that's what I'm doing now. We're gonna look at them for a second, and then we're gonna dive in. But yeah, that's what we're gonna do today. Also figured out that I need to just work on projects and finish them and not halfway them. So that's kind of my goal for the next week and a half or so, is just actually working on projects that I need to get done. The issue is where to start with this lovely gentleman. This cloak has got a lot of work on it already done, but I do want to get some of that work under there done. I think I'm not going to do, because he's got these ears on him, I think I'm going to do those in wood texture, because it's just going to be difficult for me to blend in with how small the detail is. Any skin tone. Plus, it just doesn't make sense on the model. So I think we're going to stick with wood tones. You can't see it, but my palette is currently a mess because I've been working on other projects. We're gonna try and get that project list down a few numbers so I don't have as much to work on, and I can start working on new stuff. So moving up on him, I'm using a combination of scale color birch and oak brown by the Army Painter. That's in their Fanatic set. And then I'm thinking about adding a little bit of dark camo green in there. Actually, just camo green. Kind of get the vibe of... have I not opened this? I have not opened this. To get some of that like dead wood idea. If you're watching this and you want to follow along, I'm taking a lot of, at least for some of the colors on him, I'm taking a lot of inspiration from the artwork for the Lichen Lich. Because I really liked the way that looked. So that's what I'm going with. The issue is I don't have a lot of space left on here to do much work. But we're going to take a little bit of the brown, about a brushful. About a brushful of the birch. And then just to add some color in there, maybe like half a brushful of the camo green, which is going to be a greenish brown anyway, but just to get a different tonal variation, and also kind of to help continue the color scheme that I've got going on. So because he's supposed to be kind of like a blight, which ironically this model is by Comet Lord, and it is called the Blight King, and it just very wonderfully is exactly what I needed for an encounter coming up. Hopefully I can get it done in a timely manner. It's very hot today, so I'm a little shaky because it's very warm outside. And my body reacts very negatively to heat. Alright. While it is pretty light on the model, it will darken up pretty nicely. So I'm not really worried about that right now. I'm trying to be careful where I place it, but honestly it might just be better for me to get it where it needs to go. And then add texture later. Especially with how shaky I am right now. But yeah, we're just getting this mix on there to hopefully add some tonal variation in the colors that are already on him. And where we can, we're just going to do really thin lines to help kind of accentuate the already natural texture that it has on it, but just to kind of give that wooden texture a bit more oomph to it. And honestly, if you want to just kind of let your hand shake a little bit to add just kind of like squiggly lines, you can do that as well. Just make sure that you intersperse some straight lines in there too to add some different texture motifs. But squiggly lines, again, you're kind of giving off the idea of bark. That's kind of what we're going for with this. So and when we get up closer to the highlights, what I might do is switch out the camo green with some like a desaturated cool green, because I kind of want him to be a little desaturated. I think it'll play very well into the whole like blight aspect of him. So So, but it's a couple steps away right now. Right now, just focusing on doing my best to do some tiny detail work to really help accentuate some of the features that he has on him. Truly, I think my biggest issue recently has just been getting past the ugly stage. There's always a stage in painting a model that you just like don't like the way that it looks. And if you just give it a little bit more time, you'll realize that it's not you. It's just the stage at which it's at. It's just not a fully realized piece yet. So I just have to get out of the mindset of it's always going to look good. I'm used to speed painting things, and now I'm focusing more on like the technique and detail, and it takes time and a lot of energy. So just want to make sure that you're giving it the proper time that it needs. And I guess that we're gonna go. Luckily, the kind of tone for the wood that I'm going for is kind of like a sickly dark skin tone, so it kind of fits really well actually with the whole vibe. And then for this stuff, I'm thinking I'm gonna do that like a mossy green, which is like a vibrant green. But we'll do that when we get there. Right now, he's looking pretty good. Just want to make sure I'm, again, hitting everything that needs to be hit with this highlight tone. So as I move up in vibrancy on the interior of the cloak, we're going with vibrant greens. So this is the second one up because I believe I used the first one last time I did it. But this is leafy green. Let me just double check. Yeah, leafy green. It's the second one up in the family of vibrant greens. And this is just to kind of get that weird, sickly, fungal, again, kind of based off of the artwork that the Lichen Lich has. Just kind of maneuvering it up. And I haven't decided yet if I want it to be kind of glowy or not. I think in the interest of time, I probably won't make it glowy. I'll just have it be just this vibrant color. But there are other aspects of the other forms of this that will have glowy things, so I'm just still trying to figure that out. Probably also one of the things that's been causing me some slack recently is just not having a good plan for the models I'm painting. It always helps when you go in with a plan. Darker towards the tips and it's brighter towards the interior. That's kind of exactly what I ended up doing, which is kind of cool. I just like the way that like I said, the lichen lich just looks really cool. I like the vibe that it has. It's very pointy. And it's a little bit different than this, but it honestly matches pretty well. What I'll also do is, because there's so much texture on here, I'll probably go back over with a glaze of a mid-tone to make sure that the highlights are still kept, which I believe will just be the gray-green. I obviously still want there to be some shadows in there, but I think that even with the small glaze that I'm going to do of that, it'll just kind of make everything blend really nicely and look nice. And then on the back here, it's got bone, which I'm probably actually going to hit up with a speed paint to give me some nice shadows. I don't need too much of it. I won't use this brush for that. But this is just going to help bring in some shadow back to it, because I kind of overbrushed it a little bit. It's a little overbrushed right now too. Also, word to the wise, if you're watching this, clean your brush thoroughly before you lick it after using speed paints. Speed paints do not taste very good. They're very bitter and gross. I mean, you should not, well, you can eat the paint if you want to. I'm not going to tell you otherwise. All right. I'll go back over that later. Just to be safe. A bit and I do this now. I don't have to worry about it later. I'm just hitting up the little ribs that he has, because the further back, the more shaded they'll be. I don't want them to be the same tone as the front. I'm just kind of hitting them up with this speed paint, and then when it dries, I'll go back over the areas that are furthest up and hit them with the base tone that I did to kind of bring it back. Okay, what's next on you, lovely lad? I guess I could start work on the moss. It's so vibrant. You know what? Screw it. Oh, that's not good. I am just gonna go. I'm gonna go back to Emerald Forest. We're gonna do Vivid Green on the stuff as well. That way it's in multiple places, not just that. I think it'll look good. What I might do is hit this with a base coat of the Emerald Forest and then hit it with speed paint. Like a dark green brown or something. But I just think having this mossy tone more than one place is going to be helpful. And I don't mind going over the little mushrooms that are on there right now, because again, that'll kind of be worked on as I get further in on the detail. But for now, just getting at that kind of base coat of green. Brightest colors grow on things that are usually dying. This is vibrant as fuck. I think it'll still capture the essence of what I'm looking for. I think that's the biggest thing, is if you have an idea that you want to fly with, look up reference material. I literally just look up like dead wood, rotting wood, and look up images of that and try to emulate that color through what I'm painting. Sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't, but you put forth a conscious effort to like have a plan and an idea, and I think that's valiant. Art is most often inspired by something that we see, so just refresh your memory with what it is and work from there. All right, he's got a lot of mushrooms growing on him, which we'll get to. But now let's see if we can find pork skin. No, horse fright. Close. Algae green. Pretty close. Algae green might be it. This is kind of the color we're going for. Sorry if I'm covering a thing. Gilly dew is also, that's too yellow. I think algae is what we want. So we're going algae green. I also just need to get back into the habit of using speed paint more. It's not my preferred method of painting, but it is good for what it's used for. just cover it up. Yes. Algae green. Yeah, that's a nice color. Jeez. I also bought all of these colors. Why not use them? Could be more detail oriented when I get closer to the end. And this color is only going on these mossy bits. I'm not putting it on the cloak because I've already done a lot of work on the cloak. And it doesn't need another shadow. But getting it on there anyway because I'm piss poor at brush control apparently. But again, we're just gonna get it in there. Cover the area that we just covered in that emerald forest, the lowest in the vibrant greens, and this will give us a nice little shade for it. And again, I'll go back over that with the leafy green or the emerald forest once it's dry, but it does take a minute to dry, so there. So that's good. I guess we start moving. Let's see if my white is still good. I don't mind the white getting a little bit further than it should be because I'm going to make his eyes glowing. So it really doesn't matter. But that's fine. That's a good starting point for that. And then I forgot what color I did for this. I think it was ivory mixed with something. Or maybe it was a low warm gray. I don't remember. Remember, this was gray-green mixed with ice yellow. But for now, let's move up. So we'll add a little bit more of this birch color to our previous wood tone. And then just to match it out, we'll add a little bit more of the green. This is where we're starting to get a little bit more selective with where we're putting the color to make sure that we're only highlighting certain areas. That's why I'm being a little bit more careful where I place it. Not crazy careful, but still with a little bit more care than prior layers, just to make sure. It's probably not on screen. I'm going to do that in green as well. That's why I lightened it up with white first. Just adding a little touch of green in areas to just kind of help bring some of that decay kind of like look back to him, because he's just kind of looking like wood right now, which isn't a bad thing, but I just want it to be clear that he is a kind of decaying creature. So adding some camo green with some of that birch to give a bit of a highlight color in certain places is just going to help one, the hue of the model as a whole, but two, just kind of reaffirm that he is in fact a dead creature. Probably do it up here too. I will be working on this off stream as well. Like I said, I need to get some of these projects done. So next time I come in, which might not be Thursday because I'm helping a friend move, but next time I come in, we might be painting something completely different. So, because again, my focus is trying to get these projects finished. Okay, let me just make sure I've got everything. We'll get some drab brown on there because that's the color that I used for the bone. Just a little bit. Just start hitting up certain parts of this. Make sure that the shadows are being respected. Here, shadows are being respected. Start working our way up the colors. Have a good foundation for detail work. Here. Ugh. Is electric lime. Now we're just starting to move up the colors to be a little bit more vibrant in certain areas. Super vibrant up top, closer to him, and then as you go down, it just gets less vibrant. Which is the whole point. Looks really cool. All right. And now we're going back over that mossy color. I'm gonna do is mix a little bit of this leafy green with some electric lime to get like a nice intermediary color, and just start kind of putting that in below where I had the electric lime. Kind of where I put some of the leafy green, just to get a good ombre effect. Take some of that leafy green and move down a little bit more with it. Just to kind of balance it out a little bit. Looking pretty good. And then take the highest green, which looks yellow but isn't. Afterglow. That there. And then put it in even smaller space. Just near the top. Now we have a nice little ombre effect going all the way down. It looks really cool. At least to me it does. And he's going to be standing on a base, so you probably won't see the bottom of his thing anyway, but it goes down all the way to the darkest point. Oh, and this means that the cloak is kind of done. I can start working on other things on him. We need to work on his base at some point, but I think for now... Oh. That's good. Oh yeah. Alright, and then... The other question is what I want the interior of him to look like. Now I'll take a little bit more leafy green and just start up. Parts of this moss. You going somewhere? Boo. Where are you going? You're going to Boulder?
Yeah. You want anything?
Yeah, kiss.
Do you want anything from Boulder?
No, nothing particular.
There's a screw on the ground. Don't step on it.
I know.
Okay.
How do you think he looks?
Ooh, he's looking really fucking cool.
What do you think he needs?
He needs some of that brightness brought up to the top of him too. Like he has all that brightness down there, but his face is kind of falling behind. So I think he needs like something that includes all of that extra bits up at the top, so that his face is also in line with all of that cool detail.
Well, his eyes are they're gonna have like a bright green on them. Do you think that's enough? And I'm gonna be painting the mushrooms a little brighter too.
I think the eyes being a bright green, and then maybe those little lines that kind of go up to the antlers on the eye, also kind of bringing that highlight out a bit more, might
Like
pop that.
These?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
And then before you go, I would like a sparkling water.
Okay, I'm not getting you that before I go.
I know.
Oh, okay.
On your way back.
Let me see what it said. Ooh, baby, I think this one's really, really good.
Do you think it needs anything else?
No.
Because I think it's done.
I think it's done as well.
Okay. Cool.
Looks really good.
Thank you.
I love you.
I love you. I airbrushed some of that darker color on the back here.
No, it looks
So it looks
fantastic.
shadowed,
like the
yeah.
shadow and the light really comes through your top.
Cool.
I love you, baby.
I love you. Thank you for your input. Okay, so what we'll do for that then is to get the color that we want. A little bit of just go red. As I said, I always appreciate my wife's input on my art pieces. And I think that they are right. I think adding some highlights to the head up here will help draw attention to it. That's what I'm doing. Carefully. They're so smart. And I even like this color better, so I'm going to add a little bit of it to other places as well, because I feel like it pulls out the green more, which is really what I was hoping for some of the other layers I was doing. But I think the only place I'm going to put them is close to the face on here so that it kind of draws attention to it. So we'll go like, because your highlights are what's going to draw visual interest, because they're bright and shiny and our brains go, ooh, bright and shiny. So I'm really, again, just kind of put them up here, and then that should pull a lot of focus towards him as a whole. But again, I really like this color because it's like nice and grody green. So awesome. You're so gifted. Accentuate. Looks like a skull too. Oh! This looks so cool. That is the cloak, which purposefully is a different color. Looks good. I think I did do a warm gray. I just can't remember. Or no, I did straight up gray green for this because I changed this to be more along the lines. I think I mixed, this was gray green and ICL and this was gray green and ivory. I gotta start writing this stuff down more. Yes, I'm so bad at remembering things. All right, so we'll do a little bit of gray green and we'll see if that's what it was. It definitely looks like that was the base coat, and then I put like mummified grime over it or something. And then ivory. I like the army painter one for this particular setting just because it's going to be a little bit of a darker ivory. It says ivory white, but it is a bit of a darker ivory. I could use dark ivory from Pro Acryl as well, but I think for what I want right now, I think this is going to do the job well. Yeah, I think that is what I ended up doing. Because I wanted to go all the way up to ivory for this. Maybe not all the way up to ivory, but pretty close to it, because I wanted this to be like a dirty white robe. I had a good basis for it, but I just didn't know what I wanted to do with some of it. And again, sometimes that can derail a project, so you always want to come in with some semblance of an idea. And I had what I thought was enough, but clearly I was mistaken. This brush is also just not holding a tip very well anymore. Be brighter than that. Pretty darn close. You know, the whole idea of this guy is to be a little gross and grimy. So the textures don't need to be perfect, but I want them to be as close because I want this to be a piece that I'm proud of. I always send my players home with bosses that they beat if they get the final kill on them, so I want this to be no different. I want it to be something they would be proud to display and be a fun story piece. I'm going to leave the underside, though, the darker color, because it's in shadow, so it fits. And then just start working up from there. Again, the only issue is I just want to make sure that this doesn't get too similar of a tone to this. So I'm just going to keep adding ivory in, and the other one, I think I added ice yellow in for the highlight tone for that. This is fun work though, because it is giving me a little bit of interesting perspective on, you know, how things would look. Dirty cloth tends to be dirty throughout, but there are parts of it that are a little less dirty, and trying to figure out what those are is fun. Because the cleaner pieces are going to be closer to the original ivory color I was going for, but the pieces that are kind of more in the grime aren't going to be as bright. So just trying to figure out where that ivory would hit is important. Obviously the edges are going to be pretty clean because they're edges, but like, where would water actually not soak in the grime around it? Just things you got to think about when you're painting, especially volumes and things like that, because you want to do the light service, but you want to make sure that the light doesn't deceive the viewer into thinking that the thing is light because it's clean. Again, that's why the base down here is kind of brighter, and then I'll go around and just quickly touch up the edges. That might be a little too light for my liking. So I might add some camo back in there. Just take some of this camo green and get it down to like a glaze. Just kinda weather it down a little bit. Interior here. But that'll also bring some color depth back to it. Really focusing on the areas that have close proximity to the moss. And then continue doing some work. And then this is going to be more of a, I need paint. What this is going to be is we're just going to take that kind of bright tone. Kind of do our best. I'm not the best at stippling, but do our best to just kind of stipple a little bit of that bright green on those mossy places, specifically like the electric lime. Yeah. I really want that mossy texture. Again, luckily it's similar to the cloak that he's wearing, so it has a nice kind of vibrancy to it, I guess the best way to put it. And then I'm going to take some of this, and just to ensure that it's kind of moving down properly, I'm just going to move this down a little bit. Maybe no. And this, just to make sure. And this is a bit of a... This is where sometimes I just kind of get lucky. But this is somewhat of a more diluted paint. So I'm just kind of going down. Doesn't have to be perfect, but it needs to be pretty good. That's my rule. Alright, and then we can start working on the bone. So Dusty Skull will be up next. It's going to be really fun when I get into the details. I might work on this guy on Thursday if I have the time. Where did I just put that color? Is this it? It's got to be. I'm going to touch that. Just to make sure it doesn't go too harsh of an increase, as I'll take a little bit of drab brown and a little bit of Dusty Skull. That should be good. One side. Move it down to the same area. sure that the tops have their color as well. And there's some intertwined pieces in there that I'm still debating on what color I want to do them. I don't know if I want to do them like a purple, just to kind of break up the color, or if I want to do them green to keep that color going. But I'll figure that out sooner rather than later. This up. A little bit. It's very much watered down. Hopefully, pretty watered down. Transition as best I can. The tiniest glazes in the world. Trying to smooth the transition on this bone. Big boy glazes. Up. Stuff, which I take a metric load of this, put it here. At this point, we're just doing our best to meld colors together. We don't want to lose the highlights that we made, but we do want to make sure that the color the strokes kind of go away. Best way to do that is a very thin layer of paint. It would be better if I had more space to work with, but I'm limited by space I have in the palette right now. Again, a little bit too much though. Again, all this is doing right now, at least for what I'm trying to do with it, is smooth out the transitions between the colors by using a common color between them. So in this case, the gray-green. And once I get enough small layers on, you'll start to notice that it blends together better and looks smoother. It won't look perfectly smooth, but I don't want it to be perfectly smooth. I want it to have a little bit of texture, but right now it just has too much texture. And again, the best way to get rid of texture is to add more paint. So that's what we're doing, just very slowly and methodically. to ensure that we keep the kind of all the work we did on it. And where the brush stops is where it's going to deposit the most paint. Ideally, you want to go to where that paint is the most. In this case, it's kind of down here. So that's why I'm kind of moving it down. And this can take a long time, so just be patient with it. It's not going to be like a one and done kind of thing. So just take your time with it. Get it to a result that you want, and then you can move from there. It's already looking pretty good. Oh, goodness. Already smoothed out the transitions quite a bit. And you want to make sure that the layer before it dries before you do the next one. But luckily, because they're such thin layers, they should dry relatively quickly. And if you live in a drier state like I do, they will dry exponentially faster due to the humidity. But the idea is to kind of wick out most of the liquid in the brush so you're just kind of left with paint. And then move from there and do, again, just very, very thin layers of paint until you have the desired blending effect or filter effect that you want. The beauty of it is if you overglaze a little too much, or you get to a point where you're like, I think I want one more coat, and then you do one more coat and it's just not exactly how you want it to be, you can always go back and add color back in. But again, for my purposes, I just wanted to get rid of some of the texture. But keep a lot of the highlights. So we're just going through and doing this. And hopefully, sooner rather than later, we'll get a nice little transition. getting rid of some of those brush strokes. Again, where you lift your brush is where the paint will stick the most. So lifting it around where that transition that you want is will help kind of push that value further. But yeah, we got some really good work done on him today. Just for funsies, got this fluoro green. Just want to see what this looks like. I think I already put some. Ooh, that is not mixed together very well. Good idea of what we're looking at for. Oops, grab some of this. Alright, he's looking pretty good. Probably work on him some more Thursday. Or tomorrow. Just need to take a break from him for a second. But honestly, he's, I'd say, probably 70-75% done, so doing pretty good on the time frame. Then we got this guy too. all connected. So I gotta figure out certain colors for him as well. I know that I did like the sakura blossoms in a specific color. Obviously the roses are red. But yeah, I like that green. That green is so sick. That's what I wanted to be. I wanted to be a sickly green. That makes sense. Go. At about the 2-hour mark. Got a lot of really good work done today. Oh, not to mention I also worked on Liz and Gerald earlier, so even more work done. But yeah. I gotta continue work on that cheerleader bust. That's kind of on my list of things to do. But I need to finish these guys first. I might do some airbrush work. We'll see. But if that's something of interest, I definitely would be happy to do that. So I've also got these Warhammer models I picked up that I'm really excited about. Ironically, one of them is similar to the vibe that we're going for today. This Revenant King. Missing his shield and stuff, but I want to paint him like this before I do anything else. A Vampire Lord, which I really like the sculpt of, and some Cities of Sigmar characters that I really want to do some work on as well. But again, once I get this stuff finished, I should be good to go. This is the base of that guy, the king, the Blight King. So we'll get to that. I want these things on top to be reminiscent of those things in Alien Covenant. I have like the spores in them. Where's the... Oh, Jesus. I don't know. Me. But yeah. So this will get done. By airbrushing, I mean the other half of this guy, which most likely will be mostly airbrush. But this Blight Titan, mostly airbrush with some minor detail work with a regular brush. But yeah, I kind of really liked these models and I wanted to paint them, and they're for D&D purposes, but don't tell my players. But yeah, so maybe we'll work on that too. But that's gonna do it for me today. I hope that you guys had a good time. I appreciate you coming to stick around. If you're watching this on YouTube and you watch to the end, thank you so much. It means the world to me. But if you aren't already following the channel, please do. If you have the financial ability to, consider subscribing. Don't forget that if you have an Amazon Prime account, you can subscribe for free once per month to a Twitch channel if you're choosing. I would love it if that was me. Follow me on my socials at Wheeler's Minis on pretty much everything. Subscribe to my YouTube. Again, it's free to do, and it would mean the world to me. But yeah, until next time, I hope that you guys have a great night, a great rest of your week, and I might see you on Thursday, depending on how time works with helping friends out. But follow me on my socials, will be up to date on all of that. So do that. All right, I'll see you guys next time. Have a great night. Bye-bye.